During the time of our nation's struggle for freedom and independence from the nation of Great Britain and the rule of the monarchy, there were countless others, unheard of and unheralded, who also sacrificed and gave much to the cause. During this time in our capital city of Williamsburg, over 50% of the population are people of color, both blacks and mulattoes. The overwhelming percentage of this population is slave. As our nation's Declaration of Independence was being adopted in 1776, there is also another population in this city known as free blacks. Free blacks were black men who were not slaves. Our program tonight is about a free black who stood head and shoulders above all the rest. Indeed, financially, he was quite equal with the white planter elite. His name is John Rollison. When John Rollison dies at age 55, his estate is valued at £19,200. The clerk who assessed his estate addresses him as the estate of Mr. John Rollison. Mr. John Rollison owned 8 lots in the city of Williamsburg, was a partner with Josiah Tuning in his tavern, owned his own tavern in Queens Creek, controlled a farm in York County, indeed owned slaves himself. And he was also so well versed in law that it is likely he was tutored in it. This is made all the more probable by the fact that an attorney in the city of Williamsburg, Mr. Will Timpson, was a close friend of the Rollison family. Also, Mr. Rollison had a direct connection with Thomas Nelson, a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Tonight, Mr. Rollison will be portrayed by Mr. James Cameron, Jr. Join me in welcoming Mr. John Rollison, Virginia's Black Patriot. Mr. Rollison.
I have come here to answer whatever queries and questions that you might have on these most trying times, and upon my person as well. And I know that, when one is amongst individuals that, one is not quite aware of or friendly with, that it might become, quite difficult to be the first to raise one's hand and to be the first to ask a question. Well, let me tell you that I have done this many a day, and so upon saying that, let me tell you that I am more than willing at this point to take the second question first. In the back, please.
Good day, sir.
Yes.
Did you have any provisions in your will when you just manumitted all 9 of your enslaved individuals? And what was your standing with the enslaved community?
Well, the short answer to your question, sir, is no. I have not made any provisions in my will to manumit my Negroes. But you must also understand, sir, there is no way at this time to manumit our slaves. By law, there is no manumission. The only way a slave can be manumitted is 1, if they show that they have saved the life of their master, and 2, if they have tattled upon an insurrection. And even if that is true, they must be manumitted by the High Court. And then again, only 3 slaves for the whole year in all of Virginia can be manumitted. And upon manumission, assuming that that possibly could happen, they must leave the state of Virginia, which means they must leave whatever families they have behind. But I will, upon your question, sir, tell you that there was a very close friend of mine. He has since passed these many years. His name was Matthew Ashby, and he was a carter. And, his family, both his wife and his 2 children, a boy and a girl, were enslaved. He was a mulatto, as myself, and free. And so he sought to purchase his family, which many free mulattoes or free Negroes might do, try to purchase their family from the slave master. And that scallywags doubled the price of his family. You see, the normal price for a slave is 25 pounds, which is a considerable amount, considering that most people don't earn more than 32 pounds for the whole year. And he doubled the price, 150 pounds, which Mr. Ashby had only saved up to 115, I believe. But what did he do? He went to Mr. Blair. Mr. Blair is also a slave owner. But Mr. Blair gave him the money that he needed to purchase his family. And because he was connected with the High Court, or the Grand Court found in his favor and allowed him to manumit his family and to make them no longer slaves. But believe me, that is the exception. That is not the rule. And continuing again, sir, about this question of slavery, let me say this right now, that slavery is an abomination. It is against the will of God, and there will be reckoning. But I must also say that I must take care of my family. And there is no way to have continual labor here in Virginia. I do not know of the other colonies. But right here, there is no way to keep a laboral force. The only way is with slaves. And I am not the only one. You have the Johnstons, who have 620 acres and 20 slaves. My sister, Joanna, owns 4 slaves. It is not uncommon, it is not unheard of. As I said, slavery is an institution. And I will hope that now with our grand manifesto, we will now be making situations to move away from this slavery issue. But I am truly afraid that this subject will not be taken care of, certainly in my generation, or maybe a few generations yet unborn. But it is an abomination, and it is against God Almighty. So, sir, I answer that question by saying that even if I wanted to free my slaves, I do not have the ability to do so.